Him. I'm sorry.
I ain't running.
I know.
Hey,
Good evening and welcome. I'd like to call to order the Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors business meeting Tuesday, March 21st, 2023 at 7 p.m. Board meeting room, 39 Bank Street, Southeast Chatham, Virginia. Ms. McCluster, would you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Cheshire?
here.
Mr. Ingram?
Present.
Mr. Scares?
Here.
Mr. Tucker?
Here.
Mr. Warren?
Here.
Mr. Dudley?
Present.
Mr. Dalton?
Here. If you would, everyone join us in a moment of silence, and then we'll stand to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Y'all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any items to be added to the agenda?
Yes, sir, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman. I have one.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Ingram.
Yes, sir. I would like to make the motion that we reappoint J.D. Brown as the Northeast Quadrant for the Fire and Rescue Commission. There are 4 fire departments in that quadrant, and I want to go down this list to make sure there's no confusion on this. Ben Meeks, the Chief of Gretna, said yes. Eric Colbert, the Chief of Hurt, said yes. Steve Satterfield of Renan said he had no issues with him, and James Yates of Riceville, Java said JD is good with me. There was some confusion about removing him and putting another gentleman in his place, and I will tell you, based on the bylaws, the other gentleman, and no disrespect to him, did not have the qualifications because it required significant business experience. Mr. Brown has that. He has served. He's done a good job. And so I'd like to ask for a second to reappoint him.
Mr. Ingram, can I clarify this is to add this item to the agenda?
Yes, ma'am.
Got a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll give a second.
Got a second by Mr. Chester. And this is to add for a vote later, correct?
Correct.
And this, Darrell, this
Yes.
is for next month? Is that right?
I'm
It'll
asking
be
for a
added.
vote
This-
tonight.
I guess you're going
There's
to
no
add to
need
this one
not
now,
to reappoint him
but-
tonight.
Okay, I would like to make a counter motion for us to move this to the April meeting.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, you have a motion and a second, and now you have a substitute motion. So if that substitute motion gets a second and following discussion, you have to dispose of that first before you go back to the original motion.
All right, got a
Chairman,
motion, get a
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I apologize. I am not up to speed on either of the candidates, so I would like the opportunity to vet the candidates before we actually get to a vote. So I'm going to second that motion of Mr. Dudley's.
okay. All right, we got a second. Any discussion on that motion?
I would add that he has served on this commission from the beginning of the reorganization. He's well received and accepted. I can tell you this is who the commission wants, and this is who the departments want. So I can't understand why we wouldn't reappoint him.
Any more discussion? If not, we're ready to cast a vote.
And this is on the first motion or
Okay, I'm
second
sorry.
motion?
This is on the
This is on substitute.
substitute motion.
Substitute motion.
Have everyone's vote. I'm going to close out the vote.
So it's deferred to next month, is that what I understand?
Okay, so it'll be deferred to April meeting.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I believe there are other items to be,
Yes.
Potentially
there are
added to
items
this
to be added.
and Mr. Murphy.
Yes, sir, I have, like to make a motion to add the following items to the agenda. Capital project fiscal year 2023 priorities under the consent agenda as item 7J. Also, new county administrator employment agreement under new business as item 12A. And the last bullet point will be summer internship program under matters from work session, and that will go under 13A. And I make that motion.
All right, got a motion. Anybody second that?
Second.
Got a second by Mr. Scass. Any discussion on the motion? If not, we're ready to cast our vote.
Thank
All
you.
right, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right, any more to add?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Item 13B, summer internship program. I'd like to make a motion to add it for the funding in the amount of $76,765, again, for the summer internship program.
Mr.
second that.
Chairman, respectfully, I think you already did that, Mr. Dudley, right?
That was 13A.
Yes, okay, so.
So
Okay,
he's talking the money.
I'm talking about the money part.
Yes.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second to add
Second.
that?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ingram.
Did you second it, Mr. Dudley?
No, Mr. Ingram did.
Okay, Mr.
Actually
Ingram.
did. Yes,
All
sir.
right, sorry about that.
Just
Oh,
for clarity, I apologize. So we just added those items to the agenda. For Mr. Dudley, you added 3 items, correct?
That is correct. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so now we're just going to approve the agenda with all of those revisions because that was included under that summer internship program.
Okay.
And then when we get to matters from work session, Mr. Warren, if you want to take care of that motion, that'd be great.
Well, I think the problem is Mr. Dudley's motion did not include the money amount.
Dollars.
That's right, because we're just adding it to the agenda. So we'll have to do the money amount when we get to that item. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
I got you.
Good with
Thank you. All right, so this vote is going to be for approval of the agenda. If I can get a motion and a
All right.
second.
Can we get a motion to approve?
Mr.
the
Chairman, I
agenda?
make a motion, we approve the amended agenda.
Yes, sir. Got a motion? Do we
I'll
have a
second the motion. Second?
All right, got a second. Any discussion on the motion?
No, sir.
All right, we're ready to cast our vote. All right, passes unanimous. All right, moving to item 7, the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chester. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, got a second.
Mr. Tucker.
Tucker
Mr.
got it.
Tucker.
Yeah.
All right, any discussion on the motion? If not, we're ready to cast our vote. Oh, we got, moving on to item 8A, the general presentation from the Board of Supervisors. We got George Coleman and Mr. Haymore's family to accept resolutions. Okay? Which one do we have first? George Coleman? All right.
While they're coming, I want to give a shout out to all of the law enforcement in Pittsylvania County and the exceptional job that they do to keep us safe. As I thought about this, I also thought about I thought about A Few Good Men, Jack Nicholson, in that movie wherein when he was testifying, he was on the wall when he was defending his honor. Nicholson said that nations have walls. Walls must be defended. We need men with guns on those walls. And we are very thankful that we had Mr. Coleman to be on that wall for Pittsylvania County for all those years. Pittsylvania County Board, Mr. Coleman, please come on up, please, sir. Yep. Mr. Nichols, would you come on up, please? Stand with him. Honoring George Coleman's retirement. The Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors adopted the following resolution at its business meeting March 21, 2023. Whereas for 42 years of serving the citizens of Pittsylvania County in the Sheriff's Department, George Coleman hung up his badge, retiring at 70 years old in January 31st, 2023. Whereas Mr. Coleman began his career with the county June 16th, 1980, when he was hired as a field deputy, and whereas throughout the years, Mr. Coleman moved up the ranks from deputy to field sergeant and field supervisor and investigator, whereas he was responsible for looking into various crimes such as murders, rapes, sexual assaults, crimes involving money, and whereas in 2008, Coleman began working in civil process, dealing with serving subpoenas, depositions, evictions, sheriff sales, and other areas, whereas Coleman assisted development of a crime scene unit as well as the Crime Stoppers program, and he played a key role in recruiting new deputies for Sheriff's Department and mentoring them after they were hired. Whereas Coleman believed in taking time with people and worked to the treatment of others with respect. Whereas when Mr. Coleman was on the road, he made a point to stop and talk to citizens on their front porches, in fields, or at their place of businesses, where he earned respect from not only those in the county, but from senators, delegates, judges, Commonwealth attorneys, and many other prominent people. And whereas Mr. Coleman was an asset to the county and a loyal member of the community, and faithfully performed his duties in diligent and dependable manner, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors express its sincere appreciation to Mr. Coleman for his 42 years of service to the county and his dedicated time toward the enforcement community, and congratulates him on his well-deserved retirement. Adopted this 21st day of March 2023. Robert M. Tucker Jr., Bannister District, Darrell Dalton, Supervisor Chairman, and J. Vayton Hunt, County Administrator. Thank you so much.
roasting. While he's hugging, I wanted to say it was an honor that I had to work with George for 30 years. And he's going to leave quite a void when he leaves this county. Come here, George. My mind is... I was going to say, my mind is flooded with so many times that I worked with George, and it was always such an honor. We saw the best and the worst of humanity, but through it all, he always looked good. We called him the Prince, but never make him mad, because he would put you in his place. But he was so good to so many people. And again, George, it was an honor that I had 30 years to work with you. Thank you so much. Enjoy your retirement.
Thank you.
I want to thank the board for this plaque, and it was an honor to work with the Board of Supervisors and the Sheriff Department. I first started with Sheriff Taylor McGregor, Sheriff Plaster, and now Sheriff Michael Taylor. I worked with some good sheriffs, and we had some good people, and I thank God I was protected down through the years, and I love working with people. But you got to put God first in everything you do.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you again.
Thank you again, Joe. Appreciate it.
Congratulations. You deserve it.
Yeah. I have the distinct honor of calling up Ronnie Haymore's family. And Joy Fawcett, would you come up? John Daniel. Any other IDA members that are here? I saw a couple others. If you don't mind coming up here as well. Thank y'all. Y'all just surround. Needless to say, this is bittersweet. I had the honor of knowing Ronnie. We've been friends for years, and got to reappoint him to the IDA, and we lost him suddenly, I may add. But this is a resolution honoring the life of Ronnie L. Haymore. At the Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors business meeting on Tuesday, March 21st, 2023, the following resolution was presented and adopted. Whereas Ronnie Lee Haymore was born on May the 30th, 1947 in Danville, Virginia, and he was the son of the late Herman Fay Haymore Sr. and Lillian Harp Haymore. And whereas Haymore graduated from Tunstall High School in 1965 and married his high school sweetheart, Penny Powell Haymore, in 1968. Whereas Haymore operated or served in the Virginia National Guard and was a lifelong Dry Fork tobacco farmer until he became the owner-operator of Danville Casket Company, Incorporated, which he ran until his passing. And whereas Haymore loved all sports, especially baseball, as he was a catcher for Tunstall High School and was a competitive and successful slow-pitch softball player for many years. And whereas Haymore began coaching youth baseball in the 1980s and eventually moved to Chatham High School, where he coached for 14 years. And whereas Haymore continued his passion of coaching at Hartgrave Military Academy and George Washington High School and was inducted into Pittsylvania County Sports Hall of Fame in 2014. And whereas Haymore served multiple terms on the Pittsylvania County Department of Social Services Board and was currently serving on the Pittsylvania County Industrial Development Authority and the Tunstall Volunteer Fire and Rescue Department at the time of his passing. And whereas Haymore was a faithful and loyal member of the community and faithfully performed his duties in a diligent and dependable manner, he was always willing to give support, guidance, and love to anyone he encountered. Now, therefore, be it resolved, as he was an honored and respected county citizen, that the board and the Industrial Development Authority expresses its sincere regret and grief over Haymore's loss, and be it further resolved that the Board of Supervisors and the Industrial Development Authority expresses its condolences to Haymore's family for their great loss, and be it finally resolved that the board directs that a copy of this resolution be given to Haymore's family, adopted this 21st day of March 2023, and it's signed by Joey Fawcett, Chairman of the Industrial Development Authority, Matt Rowe, Clerk of the Industrial Development Authority, myself, Darrell Dalton, Chairman of the Board of Supervisors, and Jay Vadenhunt, Interim County Administrator. Penny, thank you so much. We'll go ahead. Yeah, where's Matt and Katie? Hey, y'all come down, please. While they're coming down, let's go ahead and get the pictures, and then I'm sure there'll be some other comments that someone would like to share. Not to put anybody on the spot, but would you like to say anything?
Well, I would just like to thank you all so very much. Ronnie enjoyed everything that he ever participated in. I have never had such nice things said about Ronnie since his passing. And I think people really liked Ronnie.
That's a good observation. He was different, wouldn't you say? But thank you, Penny. Thank you so much, Ron. Joey Fawcett, I know you have something to say. Here you go. Pass it around.
Somebody's got to take the mic from you. Last month when the Industrial Development Authority had the pleasure of meeting, we were a little bit quieter because Ronnie was not there. We were a little bit sadder because his absence was very prominent. He served you, the citizens of Pittsylvania County, with an unselfishness that any of us would do well to approximate half of what Ronnie gave to others. Not only did he take persons into his home, but he took this county into his heart, and he served generously. And so I ask, as you consider that empty chair that will once again be at our meeting tomorrow night, that you ask yourself what you can do to continue Ronnie's legacy of serving Pittsylvania County, and then that you go do it. Thank you, Ronnie, for your service, and thank you, Ron, Greg, Penny, for sharing him with us. We love you.
I'd just like to say a few comments. It's obvious when you look at Penny that Ronnie was like me. He married up. There's no question about that. But this Haymore family holds a special, special place in my heart. I've known Ronnie for a long time. And these boys were the apple of his eye until they married these two ladies, and they moved down a step or two. But this one right here is about as close to being my own as I think you could get. We played a lot of golf together and had a lot of fun together. But the most fun I had was at Rubens with Ronnie when I'd meet him for breakfast. And we'd talk about Greg and my son Colby and how little they worked compared to the way Ronnie and I worked. we would give him a hard time, but Ronnie was my kind of man because he wasn't a waffler. You knew where he stood, and he would stand up and hold his position, but he wasn't to the point where he wouldn't listen to your opinion and your ideas. We lost a valuable asset, but he leaves a great legacy to follow that. So, as Joey so elegantly said, mighty big shoes to fill, but we hope some folks will step up and continue that legacy because it is a rich legacy.
Thank you. Anyone else? Chairman, Mr. Chairman, you good? Out of you guys, y'all good? Well, again, thank y'all so much for sharing him with us. Thank you for coming. And if nothing else, you can go home if you like.
Ready, Mr. McCluskey? You ready? Moving on to item 9, hearing of the citizens. Each person addressing the board under the hearing of the citizens shall be a resident or landowner of the county and registered agent of such residence or landowner. Each person shall step up, give his or her name in the district in an audio tone of voice for the record, and unless further time is granted by the chairman, shall limit his or her address to 3 minutes. No person shall be permitted to address the board more than once during the hearing of the citizens. All remarks shall be addressed to the board as a body and not any individual member thereof. Hearing of the citizens shall last a maximum of 45 minutes. Any individual that sign up to speak during such section who does not get the opportunity to do so because of the aforementioned time limit shall be given speaking priorities at the next board meeting. Absent chairman's approval, no person shall be absent to speak who has not signed up. Ms. McCluskey, do we have anybody signed up?
Yes, sir. Jim Scarce.
Welcome, Mr. Scarce.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jim Scarce. Tonight, in order to clarify a few issues, I will be speaking about my recent lawsuit against the former chairman of this board for conducting an illegal naming committee meeting. Unfortunately, the judge dismissed my case, stating that I had not provided enough evidence that an illegal meeting had been held, even though when in the December board meeting, Supervisor Warren stated the issue of naming the new jail needed to go to the naming committee first. The former chairman stated it's already been there being the naming committee. The judge said she also based her decision on the county attorney and the administrative secretary saying there had been no naming committee meeting. At the time of the judge's ruling, I did not remember them saying that. After the trial, I listened to the December board meeting again and discovered the county attorney never said there was no meeting. What he said was, and I quote, "I want to clarify something, Kaylin. I'm not aware that we've had a naming committee meeting," to which the secretary stated, "No, sir, not a meeting." Saying you are not aware of a meeting taking place is not the same as saying there had been no meeting. In his interview to the Danville Register following the trial, the former chairman said he misspoke in the December board meeting when he said it's already been there, again, there meaning the naming committee. I thought this was an odd way to say he was being untruthful, but I decided maybe I didn't understand the meaning of the word misspoke. Imagine my surprise at what I found when I looked it up in Webster's dictionary. Misspoke, to speak incorrectly, improperly, or misleadingly. Synonyms for misspoke are deceive, mislead, misrepresent, con, dupe, fabricate, falsify, fib, lie, misguide, misinform, perjure, be untruthful, and bear false witness. Antonyms for misspoke are be honest, tell the truth. So I guess the former chairman was correct when he said he misspoke. I guess that's just a nice way of saying he lied in the December board meeting when he said it's already been there. Unfortunately, this is not the first time the former chairman has misspoken in board meetings, an attempt to mislead his fellow board members and county citizens. He seems to make a habit of it when he is pushing one of his pet projects or special interest groups. A few months back, he stated that no county fire and rescue agencies were or had ever been under investigation. I wonder if he's still willing to stand behind that statement. It's a shame that the Tunstall District's representative on this board doesn't feel he needs to be honest and truthful with his fellow board members and follow the same rules and procedures as they do. The Tunstall District deserves better in their supervisor. This county deserves better. They both deserve men and women that will operate with honor and integrity. Honor is the cornerstone of integrity, and without it, you have neither. It is my hope that in the upcoming election, they will elect someone who will uphold these values and who will work for the good of the whole county and not their own agendas and special interest group. And in closing tonight, for future reference, if anyone on this board feels that they need to know the name of my supervisor or the place that I work, don't send one of your spies to find out. Be a man and come ask me face to face. Thank you. Have a good night.
Anybody else signed it, Ms. McClellan?
Brenda Bowman.
Welcome, Ms. Bowman.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, board members, staff, citizens, and audience. My name is Brenda Bowman, and I reside in the Chatham-Blairs District. I spoke to you last month concerning the traffic situation on Route 41, which is commonly referred to as the Franklin Turnpike Speedway. I thank you for your support as VDOT moves forward with a study for the business corridor of Route 41. Since this study may last for a year plus, I would like to encourage the travelers to please be careful and watch their speed when traveling to and from the county and the city by way of Route 41. There are no signals to slow the traffic down on the entire 20-plus mile stretch of Route 41. There seems to be no change in travelers' habits since the fatality in January and the attention brought to this regarding the study in the media. I am sad to report to you tonight that just yesterday, March 20th, there was another fatality on the 41 business corridor at one of the intersections we identified in the request for the study last month. That is 2 fatalities in 2 months. Obviously, in these instances, someone is at fault, resulting in deaths to both guilty and innocent people. On both occasions, I came upon the wrecks just moments after they happened. It could have just as easily have been me. I travel this road every day, and I'm worried about what will happen in the next year plus while we are waiting for the study to be completed. Even if the study should recommend traffic signals, it could be close to 2 years before we see them. So in the meantime, on behalf of the 50-plus businesses on the 41 business corridor and the citizens of Pittsylvania County, I plead with you to ask the Virginia State Police and the Pennsylvania County Sheriff's Department to provide more of a presence in order to perhaps be a deterrent to the travelers along this corridor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman. Do we have anyone else?
We
Mr.
do.
McCluskey?
John Zelensky.
All right. Welcome, sir. How you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm doing great. John Zelensky, Chatham Blair's. Only you guys can do it. You're the only ones in the county that can possibly do this. You're the only ones in the county that can write an ordinance. One of the problems that we have, you go down the road and you see a household trash on the side of the road. The police cannot do anything. I think somebody on the board is from the police department, or used to be in the police department. If you got a bag of trash on the side of the road, and if you open it up, there's a name and that. 9 out of 10 times there's a name and address. That's who owns the trash. The police can't do anything because they can't give an ownership to that particular bag. If you write an ordinance saying that, hey, if your name and address is in this bag, it's yours. And in doing so, you can write a violation for it, and the violations could go anywhere from $50 to $2,000. Again, somebody else is on, who was retired police department would know this. So the only way you can clean up our roads is by writing an ordinance for this. I got a picture here that I'll pass on to you of somebody at a trash site with a trailer full of trash that they literally used snow shovels to empty the trash bin or empty their trailer. Not only that, but you see people going around down the road and a bag of trash falls off the back of their pickup truck. You know, back in July or August, around that time frame, the roads were cleaned up by some kind of a crew. Who it was, I have no idea. 2 weeks later, as I'm coming down Stony Mill Road, there at the intersection of Stony Mill Road and Stony Mill School Road, there was a bag of household trash right there. I've seen household trash get run over on 41 with trash all over the place. There's no ordinance that would enable our police department or sheriff's department to write a violation on this. Now, the only people that can do it is sitting up here. Now, the question being is, will you do it? That's it.
Thank you.
All right, Vanessa Scares.
Welcome, Ms. Gash.
Good evening. My name is Vanessa Scarce, and I live in the Westover District. I do not like to dwell in the past, but learn from it. I recently testified under oath in a court of law that the current chairman of this board gave a nod of agreement to the past chairman when he indicated that an illegal naming committee meeting had been held. The video of the December board meeting did not verify my testimony, and that was one of the reasons that the judge stated dismissal for the case. The camera was focused on the board member that was speaking and not the board member that was nodding. I would like to take a moment to publicly thank those that reached out to me with moral support and to my husband to confirm that they saw the same nod that I saw. The condescending way that I was asked in court, "Are you professionally trained in body language?" was quite humiliating. This question came from the past chairman after he had asked me a series of irrelevant questions to impugn my testimony. The rude and disrespectful way that I was treated will all be worth it when the truth is revealed. I stand on Romans 14:12 that says, "So then, every one of us shall give an account of himself to God." And let me add, God knows the difference between your yes and your no. Lesson learned. Video footage from these meetings may be used to confirm or deny your testimony at any given time. This applies to each board member and to everyone in attendance. Therefore, I would like to suggest that the board create written policies regarding the recording of the meetings. These policies should require a full view of the entire board at all times during the meetings. An additional close-up of the person speaking should be shot from another camera. It may also be beneficial to have similar policies related to the use of cell phones during the closed sessions. Having such policies would show the citizens that this board is concerned about representing truth and demands leadership accountability. As long as those in leadership have the propensity to misspeak, the integrity of this board, and therefore this county, is compromised. I would hope that enough board members pursue integrity and take my suggestion to heart. I've been accused of being part of a political hit job or smear campaign. FYI, the only campaign that I'm on is the campaign for the truth that will set you free, according to John 8:32. Although being sworn to tell the truth in a court may be important, what's most important to me is that Exodus chapter 20, verse 16 states, "Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor." And you may not know it, but that's the 9th commandment. In closing, I would like to point out that the reason we have hundreds of law libraries and courts filled with dockets is because people just simply refuse to follow the most important law there is, the 10 Commandments. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Garris.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Is that all we have? Thank you, Ms. McCluster. Moving on to item 10A, rezoning public hearings. Pursuant to Article 5, Division 6 of the Pennsylvania County Zoning Ordinance, the Board of Supervisors have been empowered to hear and discuss specific zoning issues and zoning maps changes in support of said ordinance and accomplishing the important task. The board is responsible for promoting the health, safety, and general public welfare of the citizens of Pennsylvania County. The board must ensure that all of its decisions and regulations be directed to these goals and that each be consistent with the environment, the comprehensive plan, and in the best interest of Pennsylvania County, its citizens, and its posterity. Public hearing on case R23-001. Ms. Haynes, welcome.
Thank you. Case R23-001, Riceville Baptist Church has petitioned to rezone 4 acres located on Riceville Road in the Bannister Election District from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to A1 Agricultural District to allow for a cemetery. On February 7, 2023, the Planning Commission recommended by a 7-0 vote with no opposition that the petitioner's request be granted. Once the property is rezoned to A1 Agricultural District, all uses listed under Section 35-178 are permitted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, a member from Riceville Baptist Church is here to represent the petition.
All right. 7:43, I open a public hearing for case R23-001. Someone here to speak, Ms. Hayes?
I guess not, but I can answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Hayes?
There was no
All right.
problems in the case with, it was a 7-0 straight-up vote with Planning Commission.
That's
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
the case R-23-001.
Let me close the public hearing
Okay,
first,
no
please.
problem.
I close the public hearing at 7:43. Now, the pleasure is yours, Mr. Tucker.
Yes, sir. In that case, R-23-001, make a motion to approve the rezoning of 4 acres from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to A1 Agriculture District to allow property lines to be adjusted.
All right, got a motion, anybody second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dudley. Any
Yes, sir.
discussion on the motion? If not, we're ready to cast our vote. All right, passes unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to case R23-002. Ms. Hayes.
Case R23002, Joseph and Mona Hairston have petitioned to rezone .67 of an acre located on Cascade Road in the Tunstall Election District from B2 Business District General to A1 Agricultural District to allow for 2 dwellings on the property. On February 7th, the Planning Commission recommended by a 7-0 vote with no opposition that the petitioner's request be granted. Once the property is rezoned to A1, all uses listed under Section 35-178 are permitted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Hairston is here to represent the petition.
All right, thank you. 7:45, I open the public hearing for case 23-002. Welcome, sir.
Thank
Got
you.
anything you need to add to the case?
So what?
You have anything you'd like to add to it?
Oh, no, sir.
Okay, any questions for him?
No, sir. Thank you.
All
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay. 7:45, I close the case, the public hearing in case R23-002.
Mr. Chairman, I make
Yes.
the motion
Go ahead, Mr. I'm sorry.
in case R 23-002. I make the motion to approve the rezoning of 0.67 acres from B2 Business District General to A1 Agricultural District to allow 2 dwellings on the property.
All right, got a second? All right, thank y'all. Any discussion? Not, we're ready to vote. Yes, sir, thank you. It's been approved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Case R-23-003. Ms. Hayes.
Case R23003, Thompson and White have petitioned to rezone 87.28 acres located on Pritchett Lane in the Bannister Election District from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to A1 Agricultural District to allow for the property to be subdivided. On February 7th, the Planning Commission recommended by a 7-0 vote with no opposition that the petitioner's request be granted. Once the property is rezoned to A1, all uses listed under Section 35-178 are permitted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Ronald Thompson is here to represent the petition.
All right, thank you. Open the public hearing at 7:47 for case R-23-003. Yeah, if you have anything you need to add or not? Oh, okay, all right,
Okay.
that's fine.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, the pleasure is yours, Mr. Tucker.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dalton, can I get you to close that public
Oh,
hearing?
I'm sorry, I did, I forgot. 7:47, I close the public hearing for case R-23-003.
We'll get synchronized.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman, in case R-23003, make a motion to approve the rezoning of 87.278 acres from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to A1 Agricultural District to allow the property to be subdivided.
I'll second the motion.
All right, got a motion, got a second, any discussion? If not, we're ready to cast our vote. You passed unanimous. Good. Thank you. All right. On case R-23-004, Ms. Hayes.
Case R23004, Danny Daniel has petitioned to rezone .053 of an acre located on Jones Mill Road in the Tunstall Election District from A1 Agricultural District to R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to consolidate with an adjacent property zoned R1. On February 7th, the Planning Commission recommended by a 7-0 vote with no opposition that the petitioner's request be granted. Once the property is rezoned to R1, all uses listed under Section 35222 are permitted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Daniel is here to represent the petition.
All right, thank you. I'm going to open up the case at 749, case R23-004. Welcome, sir.
Yes, sir. I don't have any questions. Do you gentlemen have?
Anybody have any questions?
No, sir.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir. All right, the pleasure is yours, Mr. Ingram.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Dudley.
I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Close it
Thank
out.
you.
All right.
That's all
I
right.
closed the public hearing at 7:49 for case R23-004. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, in case R23-004, I make the motion to approve the rezoning of 0.053 acres from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to A1 Agricultural District to allow property lines to be adjusted.
Second.
We got a second by
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Warren. Any discussion? If not, ready to cast our vote. All right, passes unanimous. All right, moving to case R-23-005. Ms. Hayes again, please.
Case R23-005, Jessica Perdue has petitioned to rezone 6 acres located on Cheney Store Road in the Dan River Election District from RC1 Residential Combined Subdivision District to A1 Agricultural District to allow for placement of an accessory building. On February 7th, the Planning Commission recommended by a 7-0 vote with no opposition that the petitioner's request be granted. Once the property is rezoned to A1, all uses listed under Section 35178 are permitted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, Ms. Perdue is here to represent the petition.
All right, thank you. At 7:51, I open the public hearing for case R-23-005. Yes, ma'am, you got anything you'd like to add?
I don't.
Okay. Any questions from the board members? All right. The pleasure is yours, Mr. Cheslow. I got to close. Excuse me, getting too fast. At 7:51, I close the public hearing for case R-23-005. Now, the pleasure is yours, Mr. Cheslow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good job, Darrell. In case R-23-005, I'll make a motion to approve the rezone. What in the world? I make a motion that we approve the
Absolutely. I'll second it.
Thank
Got a
one of us
second.
will.
All right. Any discussion?
No, sir.
If not, we're ready to vote.
Who made that second? I'm sorry.
I did.
Thank you.
Well, one of us, yeah.
Eeny, meeny, miny,
If I got it this time, let him have it. I don't care.
We're ready to close it?
Okay, we're ready.
Okay. 7:52, I close the case R-23-005. We're ready to cast our vote.
I think I already have. All right.
All right,
7-0.
passes unanimous. Thank you.
The property's been rezoned.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
All right, moving to case R-23-006. Ms. Hayes.
Case R-23-006, Robert and Virginia Mathewson have petitioned to rezone 21.65 acres located on Robin Ridge Court in the Stanton River Election District from RPD Residential Plan Unit Development to A1 Agricultural District to consolidate with an adjacent property zoned A1. On February 7th, the Planning Commission recommended by a 7-0 vote with no opposition that the petitioner's request be granted. Once the property is rezoned to A1, all uses listed under Section 35178 are permitted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman, if you have any questions, I can answer for you.
At 7:53, I open the public hearing for case R-23-006. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay.
There you go.
7:54, I close the public hearing on case R-23-006. The pleasure is yours, Mr. Dudley.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, you're doing a good job.
Thank
How
you.
about that?
Thank you, sir.
In case R-23-006, I make a motion to approve the rezoning of 21.65 acres from the RPD Residential Plan Unit Development District to A1 Agriculture District to allow the property lines to be adjusted, and I am in favor.
All right, got a motion, got a second?
I'll second.
All right, second by Mr. Chester. Any discussion on the motion? If not, ready to cast our vote. All right, it passes unanimous. Thank you. All right. In case R-23-007, Ms. Hayes.
Case R-23-007, Triple S Farms has petitioned to rezone 3.376 acres located on Tom Fork Road in the Dan River Election District from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to B2 Business District General to allow for commercial parking, facility, and repair of trucks. On February 7th, the Planning Commission recommended by a 7-0 vote with no opposition that the petitioner's request be granted. Once the property is rezoned to B2 Business District General, all uses listed under Section 35-365 are permitted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman Jason Swearingen is here to represent the petition.
All right, thank you. At 7:56, I open the public hearing on case R-23-007. Welcome, sir.
Good evening.
You have anything you'd like to add?
Everything's good.
Okay, any questions?
Sir.
All right. 7:56, I close the public hearing in case R-23-007. And the pleasure is yours, Mr. Chester.
Yes, sir. In case R-23-007, I make a motion to approve the rezoning of 3.376 acres from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to B2 Business District General to allow for a commercial parking facility and the repair of trucks.
Second.
We got a second by Mr. Warren. Any discussion? Ready to cast our vote. All right, your property being rezoned.
Thank you all.
Unanimous. Thank you,
you,
sir. Moving to case R-23-008. Ms. Hayes again.
Case R-23-008, Triple S Farms has petitioned to rezone 68.764 acres located on Tom Fork Road in the Dan River Election District from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to A1 Agricultural District to allow for agricultural uses. On February 7th, the Planning Commission recommended by a 7-0 vote with no opposition that the petitioner's request be granted. Once the property is rezoned to A1, all uses listed under Section 35-178 are permitted. The staff summary is enclosed in the board packet. Mr. Chairman Jason Swearingen is here to represent the petition.
All right, thank you. 7:59, I open the public hearing for case R-23-008. Yes, sir. Do you have anything to add to this?
No, sir.
All right. Any questions from board members? All right. At 7:59, I close the public hearing in case R-23-008. The pleasure is yours, Mr. Cheshire.
Yes, sir. In case R-23-008, I make a motion to approve the rezoning of 68.764 acres from R1 Residential Suburban Subdivision District to A1 Agricultural District to allow for agricultural uses.
Second.
Got a second by Mr. Ingram. All right, any discussion? If not, we're ready to cast our vote.
Thank you all.
Passes unanimous. Thank you. Other public hearings. Each person addressing the board under the public hearing shall step up, give his or her name and district, and/or his or her place of residence for non-county citizens in an alternate tone of voice for the records, and unless further time is granted by the chairman, shall limit his or her address to 3 minutes. Speaker for a group shall be limited to 10 minutes. Speakers shall have concluded their remarks at this time unless the consent of the board as affiliated were given to extend the speaker's allotted time. Absent the chairman approval, no person shall be able to speak who has not signed up. Do we have anybody signed up, Ms. McCluster?
We are down to the zoning ordinance revisions for solar.
For item 1 for the solar, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Ragsdale is not here today due to a death in the family, but Mr. Arnold is just going to give a very brief presentation, and then you can get to the public
Okay.
hearing
All right.
speakers.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. All right. Welcome, Mr. Arnold.
Good evening, gentlemen. As Mr. Hunt indicated, this public hearing pertains to 3 proposed amendments to Pennsylvania County Code Section 35-141C, dealing with utility scale solar energy facilities. The first proposed amendment is to the utility scale solar energy facilities shall not be located less than 5 miles from any other utility scale solar energy facility. So that's a change. Currently it's 1 mile, so that would be increased to 5 miles. Secondly, no more than 2% of the total acreage within a single zoning district shall be approved for the use as a utility scale solar energy facility. And the third proposed amendment is utility scale solar energy facilities shall be exempt from section 35-141C items 1 and 2 if proposed project has entered into a power purchase agreement or similar agreement with a tenant company located within the defined boundaries of the Southern Virginia mega site at Berry Hill, which also has an approved local performance agreement with the Board of Supervisors. And so the first 2 proposed amendments, the increase in the distance from 1 to 5 miles, as well as the no more than 2% of the total acreage within a single zoning district shall be used as a utility scale solar energy facility. Those 2 items were recommended for approval by the Planning Commission at the January 2023 meeting, and then we also covered all 3 of these proposed changes at this month's Legislative Committee on the 7th. Happy to answer any questions you all might have, whether now or later.
Any questions, Mr. Arnold?
I've got a gentleman here tonight that, has actually got a solar company that's leasing his property right now. So if all of this is in the hopper, even if we switch it to the 5 mile, they're still in. Is that right, Mr. Hunt? Is that correct?
If they've submitted the application,
Yes.
they will be
Yes, sir.
grandfathered, yes.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to clear it up.
Okay.
But yes, sir. Thank you.
Sure. All right. Any other questions?
No. Thank you, Mr. Arnold. All right. Anyone else signed up, Ms. McCluskey?
Can you open that public hearing?
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, at 8:04, open the public hearing for the PCC zoning ordinance and revisions.
All right, Chuck Angier.
Welcome, Mr. Angier.
Thank you. Good evening.
Evening, Chuck.
To the Board of Supervisors, Chairman, thank you for this opportunity. You know, I just love solar. It's the best thing to come down the pipe, let me tell you. I would really like to see every house in Pennsylvania County off-grid generating their own electricity. It'd be a whole lot better than condemning 18,000 acres of carbon sequestering cropland that's producing food. Now, I would like to see a moratorium. Maybe that's not going to happen. Maybe this is what we need to do. But in order for, if these changes are intended to slow down solar growth, then we need to put some teeth in it. And I would like to suggest this. Regarding the 5-mile limit, I think you have to include verbiage that describes how that 5 miles is calculated. And I would suggest that any boundary of any facility can't be within 5 miles of any other boundary of any other facility. And the boundary should include not just the solar panels, but the entire project. And as far as the 2% of the zoning district, that's a real improvement. And by my calculations, we've already doubled that. And so does that mean that we can shut half of them down now? If this is the case, then this is another one where the total acreage has to be taken into consideration, not just the panels, but the entire project. And I think that would pretty much be the end of it, because by my calculations, we've got 445,000 acres of A1 and 18,500 acres. Well, you do the math. We're about double what that would allow. But I thought of a third one. And this came to me because I have to go into the Whitehorn project in Gretna on a fairly regular basis. And I've noticed that those panels are helter-skelter everywhere. There's no way that that facility can be producing what they said it was going to produce. I would love to have a restriction where we take solar facilities and have them put an online portal for public access that will give us a real-time reading of how much power they're really putting out. Because they've sold the American public a bill of goods with no verifiable data. It'll produce this much electricity and power this many homes. Well, that doesn't tell us anything. It sells stuff. So let's have them put in a portal so we can see exactly what it's putting out. The public can have access to it and do research from that point, and we'll see what it's really worth. But 18,500 acres should be the end of it. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Chuck.
I know that the king said the king.
Bonita Hines.
Yeah, I did.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Thank you for letting us be here
Yes.
tonight. It's the first time I've ever been to a Board of Supervisors meeting, and I've been in the county for 69 years. So thank you for allowing me to be here. The reason I'm here tonight is because of the solar farm that is proposed to be built off of Berry Hill Road. Okay. If it is built off of Berry Hill Road, that's fine. But the main road that they want to use to annex, to build, put the trucks on, is Buford Road. Buford Road is a very small road. There is no outlet to it. One of the ladies measured, it's 17.3 feet across in one area. Our community is off of Buford on Rocky Knoll. We have young children, we have school buses, we have elders, we have people that travel the road all the time. You get those big transfer trucks coming in there with a school bus coming in, it's going to be chaotic. It is already chaotic. The bypass is going there now. This morning, as I was trying to get back into my community, there was a state truck coming up the road. It had to pull over just for me to get a small Buick down the road. Please reconsider. I think the board says you're for safety for the community. Reconsider using this road. Originally, I think that access was supposed to be straight off of Berry Hill Road, not on Buford. Really consider what you're going to do if you allow this. It can be very harmful. I, for one, am not upset about the solar farm. I think it can be done. That's just my personal opinion, no neighbors. But to use our road is very, very alarming. I've been in this county a long time. I've paid all my taxes. Thank you for the chance to speak. But really, if you've never been down Buford Road, off of Berry Hill Road, I invite you to drive down it and see what you're exposing us to. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt.
Virginia?
Welcome, Virginia.
Thank you. My name's Virginia Lovinger. I'm from the Westover District, and I'm a neighbor of Bonnie's. And although I'm not directly impacting the ordinance that was talked about, I'd like to see if there wasn't some way to get more provisions as you all are considering more solar farms. We feel very strongly, as Bonnie has said, that Buford Road, VDOT didn't even consider it wide enough to put a yellow line down the middle. There's no lane demarcations. And yet somehow or another that was approved as being the construction entrance to this 800-acre solar farm that Dominion and Strata Solar are planning on putting together. I'd also like to say that we had an opportunity to speak with Dominion and Strata representatives twice. The most recent time was earlier this month. And while we were there, we arrived with lots of questions. We didn't get answers to our questions. So as you're considering more of these solar farms, there are some specific issues that I find troubling about this Virginia solar farm that you all approved in 2020. The first question I have is, we were told that none of the energy that's being collected by Dominion from that farm will benefit us. We were told that by the Dominion's representatives at the meeting. It seems wrong somehow to have land in Pittsylvania County with solar farm on it, not having that energy benefit the citizens. And I don't know enough about solar farms and their way they work, but I do know you can collect that power and you can store it. And it seems that there ought to be a better way than that. Second of all, we had specific questions about what type of solar panels are going to be used. Different solar panels use different chemicals. They've come a long way in the past 10, 15 years, but they still contain hazardous chemicals. Solar farms are also prone, that's not right. Solar farms can have fires. They can have surges from electrical lightning discharges. They also can have fires at the DC isolators. And these fires are difficult to extinguish and they are hard to contain. And we were told that no firefighters departments will allow their first responders to enter into an enclosed solar farm if there's a fire because of danger of electrocution. And if that's the case, what kind of regulations, how can we contain it? We live downwind from the Virginia solar farm. And what does that mean for us? Second of all, we asked what type of fire suppression mitigation equipment was Dominion and Strata going to put in that farm? And they couldn't answer that question either. The other question that we had to do with the stormwater pollution plan. By law, that's required to be available prior to construction. I asked to see a copy of it. This 3 weeks have passed. I still haven't seen a copy. It happens that those solar panels have heavy metals in them. Those metals can leak into the soil. The land that the Virginia Solar is on is a drain field for the Dan River, and everyone in my neighborhood uses a well for our water. So these are things that I have yet to hear any answers to. I have yet to hear any resolution to these questions. And so as you're considering other guidelines for additional solar farms, I ask that you consider getting the answers out to the public, those of us who are being impacted by this. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Ken Moss.
Welcome, Mr. Moss.
Okay, thank you for giving me a chance to talk. I'm Ken Moss. I'm here representing the Buford Road community regarding the Berry Hill Solar Facility. I am representing the whole community. I'm asking if you would grant me more than the 3 minutes, please. I've got a lot I need to say. And gentlemen, solar is a hoax, okay? I'm an engineer. I'll be glad to debate that with anyone in this room, anyone within earshot of this. What they're doing over there at the Berry Hill project is cutting the forest down to replace the forest with solar panels. The forest removed more pollution from the air than the solar panels will offset from energy generated from natural gas. We are cowtailing to the tax credits, and in this case, mostly Dominion Power, but we've got Strata Solar Company here, or Hillendale, or whoever else. They're the same company, by the way, okay? I'm asking that you guys reconsider what you're doing here. You are destroying the quality of life in the county. I'm asking that you reconsider where we are on this solar, okay? The one thing that Pittsylvania County has to offer that's outstanding, and that is a rural community quality of life. We have a geographic location within 2/3 of the population of the United States on the East Coast. We're close to the ocean, we're close to the mountains. People of quality who will pay taxes would like to move here. You're worried about jobs, I'm worried about jobs. You're not going to get good quality employees to come live here if they've got to live and be polluted by solar in their backyard, okay? They're not going to do it, okay? They're not coming. And that is your real tax base. Whatever monies you get up front out of this tax, out of the recouping the tax on the land, out of these solar installations, to go and build a courthouse, I mean, is this our priority? We're going to sacrifice our farmland, our quality of life, our rural communities, so we can take the money and build a courthouse or a jail. Okay, I know that's important. I understand that. But we don't need to destroy the very thing that we have that's most important to us, and that is a high-quality rural lifestyle. Now, the farming community, I understand the economics of the farming side of it. I understand why landowners may want to take part in what they feel like is monies to be garnered from this, okay? They're not going to get it because somebody's got to clean this mess up in 10 to 15 or 20 years, or maybe less. As was stated to you earlier, over there on East Gretna site, my wife went over there and noticed exactly the same thing. Those panels are not even functioning. Does anybody care that they're not functioning? Obviously not, okay? So when you clean these up, so the question was asked at the last Board of Zoning Appeals meeting by Don Merricks, shouldn't have said that, sorry, by one of the board members. And he said, how much is it going to cost to clean this up? He asked the Strata guy. The response was, we don't know. Oh, we don't know how we're going to clean it up, who's going to clean it up, who's going to pay for it, but yet we go and pass permits out like candy for these people to build more and more of something we don't know about. We asked Strata ourselves, what happens when the panels catch on fire? And they said, let them burn. And then we asked, oh, okay, what's in the smoke? Well, that's not my area of expertise. So we got panels on fire. We can't put them out because the system is charged. The firefighters don't even know how to deal with it. And we don't know who's going to clean the mess up and who's going to pay for it. I'd like to see a study with a contractor that says what they were willing to do. Okay, they're going to clean it up in 20 years, 10 years, whatever, what it's going to cost. Why were not these studies done? I'm asking that this whole solar initiative be tabled, be put on hold until at least some of these questions can be answered. We don't know what it's doing to the groundwater. We are, this Buford Road community, a lot of which are represented here behind me, that is a single access road down there, the Buford Road. They've got the connector road going in a quarter mile from where this site is going to be entered. 80% of the supplies for the 800 acres is to go through the Buford Road. Now, I have been chanting this for the last 2 years. The Planning Commission meeting of 2020, September 1st, I was there representing my mother, our 100-year-old farm over there. We've got a century farm over there. It's been in our family for 5 generations, and it is being decimated by this solar pollution, is what it is. So during that meeting, I was granted 2 concessions. One was a 200-foot natural buffer setback, and I was granted that the ordinance, which was already in place for the height of the panels, be maintained at 15 feet. both of which were not included in the permit that was handed to Dominion Power, now Dominion Power. I didn't find this out until 2 months ago, 3 months ago. How did that happen? Well, that's still under investigation, I might add, okay? Why was the ordinance that was already in place on the panel height, why was that not honored? I mean, we're talking about more ordinances here, and we're not abiding by the ordinances that are already existing. Why is that? Okay, it's because these solar companies are telling you guys a bunch of stuff that's not true. They got up there and told you that they have 2,000 megawatts of installed capacity, which is equal to 2 nuclear power plants. That is an absolute joke. The average solar gain on panels in this part of the world is 5.4 hours per day. You can check the NREL site if you don't believe me. That means whatever the stated capacity is about 23% of that, okay? Bet you didn't know that, okay? You're gonna see that you're not gonna get what you think you're gonna get. And in the end, you created a liability for the future young people that we want to move here and stay here. They don't wanna come here, and they don't wanna stay here, and they're gonna be left with dealing with this mess. I'm asking that you seriously reconsider, and you guys can vote and do whatever you want to do. You can put a stop to this pollution right here and now. I'm asking you, please, reconsider, and at very least, put together a committee that will do what should have been done years ago before the first permit was ever issued, and that is investigate all of these issues, some of which you've heard tonight other than just from me. It is not safe. It is not good for the environment. It is not good for the community, and what little monies you're going to get out of it up front, you're going to lose in the end. Somebody's got to deal with this thing long term. The property value decrease, we're being directly impacted. These Rocky Knoll Lane folks are being impacted. Their lives are being disrupted. Their property values are being destroyed, and our family is on the tip of the spear. Our farm is going to be ruined. It's been in my family for 5 generations. I'm asking you reconsider what it is you're doing, please. Thank you.
Sonia Ingram.
Welcome, Ms. Ingram.
Thank you. I'm Sonia Ingram, Gretna Callens District. I'm here to talk about the solar ordinance. I wanted to speak about my concerns on the number of the approved and proposed solar facilities in Pennsylvania County. And the reasons that I'm concerned are similar to what folks have already talked about. The visual impacts on our pristine landscapes, our rural landscapes, and our historic landscapes, our negative impacts to our property values, the potential negative impacts of our local economy through tourism, and also environmental impacts, the cumulative environmental impacts to our watersheds. As for visual impacts, one thing that Pennsylvania County has is these pristine and beautiful landscapes, as the man before me mentioned. But I've found that some of the solar facilities have been approved for some of the most historic areas in our county, which is really disturbing to me. One of them is Mount Airy, and there's one that I found out that was approved recently for the Cedar Forest Mill area. And also Berry Hill Road. Berry Hill Road is a really historic area, although the mega park and, of course, the upcoming solar facility is really disrupting that. After years of advocating for a local tourism program, we finally have a strong tourism program in the county. And in 2021, tourism in Virginia increased by 31%, and it generated $25 billion in revenue in Virginia. Tourism is huge, and it's growing. But with every solar facility that you approve, you're damaging our best assets. There was a tourism study done in I think it was last year, And Danville, Pittsylvania County residents were asked, what are our county's greatest assets? And the top answer was history and heritage. The second answer was outdoor recreation. And the third answer was scenic beauty. So that tells you what the people in our community, in our county, that's what they value. I'm not against renewable energy or solar. There are places where it's appropriate. Parking lots, flat rooftops, but our pristine rural landscapes is not it. And I also agree with the property values issue. I'm currently trying to sell a property in the Chatham area, and my real estate agent has told me that she will not bring people to see the property on the roads that have solar facilities. So that's showing you that this is impacting our properties and our property values. So I agree. I think that we need to take a step back and really think about what we're doing to our county.
Amanda Widener,
Welcome, Ms. Brown.
and she is speaking on behalf of a group also.
Okay, yeah. Welcome.
Thank you. Amanda Sink-Widener, the Gretna-Callens District, and I'm here tonight representing the Friends of Whittles. Tonight, Board and ladies and gentlemen of the county, I'm here to tell a story. It's a story of unintended consequences. It's a story of solar industrialization of Pittsylvania County. It's a story of complete destruction of wildlife and agricultural ecosystems where solar sites impact. It's a story of farmland conversion, not farmland complement. It's a story of questionable ecological balance where we scalp sustainable timber tracts, deforesting and devegetating property, turning the willful eye from the natural balance that we call the carbon cycle, which is everything that we call green. You know, it's half-baked research, one shovel deep, with no long-term substantial evidence of how our environment will be impacted, our residential home values, or neighboring land, and for good reason. Why? Because big-scale solar in small farming communities like Pittsylvania County is relatively new to the solar scene. You know, it's exaggerated salesmanship from fancy solar project managers, great suits, great shoes, that always write narratives that have the golden handcuffs of the 2020 Virginia Clean Economy Act. And ladies and gentlemen of the county, I want to remind you of something. That was the same piece of extreme, volatile, partisan legislation that floated our beautiful Commonwealth up the flagpole to be known as Little California. And I don't know about all of you, but I live in Pennsylvania, not California. You know, it's a story, thank you, it's a story of fragmented citizen relationships where people can't even look at each other in the grocery store because big landowners wrapped their neighborhoods in solar panels and left them on the sideline with the collateral damage. You know, it's a big, green, toxic machine, heavily subsidized by the federal government's bloat. And ladies and gentlemen, what that effectively means is that all of us here tonight, well, we're paying for those unintended consequences. Now, let me tell you another story. It's a story about big county, big land, big history, and big dreams. Rolling hills, cows grazing, some of the largest, most productive dairy farms in our Commonwealth. Rolling hills, again, with the beauty of the sun, hay crops being mowed, other crops being grown, and community hand in hand working together for the betterment. Now, that's my county. That's Pittsylvania County. And you know what? That's a little bit like my community, Whittles. Nestled in between Chatham and Gretna, two historic rail stations still on the railway, where my granddaddy stepped off when he was 3 years old when he lost his mother. And thus, my story started. It's a fourth-generation farming family where the parents taught their 3 daughters and their 7 grandchildren that land is more than a financial unit. It's a gift to be revered, protected, and stewarded. It's a 5th-generation farming family with the love of livestock production and cropping. And I'm going to tell you what now, those people, they love their Charolais cattle. It's a 130-year church. It's newcomers to a neighborhood with children. It's retirees settling in for golden years rooted in rural quality of life. You know, it's a Civil War era carriage house with a Confederate cemetery behind it that people still visit to remember a hard part of our history. And it's an unmarked African American cemetery that when my parents learned about that family, well, they bought a tombstone and they put their family's name on it. So their contributions to Whittles would never be lost. Now you're scratching your head. Well, all these details about Whittles, Amanda. Well, board, you have to know the details of your communities, to know the details of your people, to understand their frame of reference, and why the community of Whittles and others like us would be vehemently opposed to solar industrialization of our beautiful neighborhoods. You know, when I think about it, I think about what our community's rooted in. Whittles and other communities like ours, well, they're rooted in respect. Respect for your neighbor, true grit, hard work, sacrifice, land stewardship, ag development, soil and water conservation, wildlife conservation, and you know what else? A deep commitment one to the other to preserve a quality of life that is deeply embedded in the beauty of our rural landscape. Now, I'd be far remiss if I didn't tell the ladies and gentlemen of the county, I've talked to many of you, appointed officials, elected officials, and you know what? We covered the hard topics, didn't we? We talked about landowners' rights, and I'm an advocate of that. My family owns about 1,000 acres in Whittles. In fact, we have some of that precious transmission line. But you know what? We always rested here, a delicate line where one landowner's rights end, and where do mine begin? Gentlemen of the board, where do all of those landowners' rights end, and where do ours begin? We talked about farming. You can't make a living farming anymore, especially tobacco farming. I understand that. My parents were full-time tobacco farmers, 80 acres at their peak. But you know what they did? They always chose to have another career trajectory for income stability, retirement, and insurance. Now, I am not trying to suggest that everybody's decisions should be the ones of my family, no. But what I am trying to suggest is that you cannot use the excuse of I can't make a living farming anymore to wrap up your community in solar panels while you giggle to the bank and your neighbors are left on the sideline holding the bag of collateral damage and a deterioration of life that is hard to quantify for this generation, and yes, maybe the next. You know, the last conversation that I had, it's going to stick between my ears for a long time. It was with an appointed official, and he said, you know, Amanda, it's just hard to look someone in the eye and deny them effortless generational wealth. And I thought, no. That's not the story of my county. Not our history, nor should it be our future. And so I watched that BESA meeting last week with some interest. And I watched that solar project manager. And he said, remote. Suitability of Hillendale, remote. Remember? And then Ron Merrick said something profound. He said, well, I'm kind of uncomfortable with calling this remote because I've driven out there. And it's really nice out there. Yes, it is. It's gorgeous out there. And gentlemen of the board, it has been nice in every community and on every farm and on every roadside that we have destroyed with solar panels. It's been very nice. You know, I watched those landowners trickle up to the podium last week. With all due respect. And they were polite and nice, respectful. Please approve my project, please approve my project. Good for the county, good for the county, good for the county. One lady admitted, you know, I'll make more on solar than timber. Well, yes, you will. Because these old timber guys have worked with all of us on a sustainable tree harvest and replant program, well, they're not backstopped by the federal government. So they can't offer her the same money for a sustainable tree harvest and replant nearly as much as a solar company can pay her to destroy them. And then we heard a speaker talk about fossil fuels, finite. You know, solar's the wave of the future. Well, it's a wave, all right. If I hadn't known any better, board, I would have thought all those landowners were at home that night, sorting through their recycling bins, plugging up their electric cars, and reading the environmentalist newsletter today on their couch. But I kind of doubt it, and I bet you do too. No, board, they forgot to ask something. They forgot to look all of you in the eye. And they just simply forgot to say, Mr. Board Member, would you please approve my project? Because I'm on the hunt for effortless generational wealth. Gentlemen of the board, we are here tonight to ask for your help. We're coming together to ask that you vote unanimously to support that 5-mile restriction and that 2% maximum, which I think kind of takes care of the question you just posed to him, because we're already there, okay? We're asking that you support it unanimously. And let's make this county look more like Pennsylvania than Pluto. And ladies and gentlemen of the county, if you stand with me tonight in solidarity, stand with me now. So you see, board, there is a wave. There's a big tsunami of frustration within your constituency, your taxpayers and your voters. And so the only thing we're asking is that as we unify tonight and as we look you in the eye and say, no more big solar. The transient companies, those transient companies and their federally backed bottoms can go home now. And the only thing we're asking of all of you is that you help them pack their bags. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your service, because I know you're always in the hot seat. I want to ask that God would bless you. May God bless this beautiful county and the people in it. And most especially, may God be in the midst of these discussions tonight and moving forward. Thank you.
That is all, Mr. Chairman.
Is that all, Ms. McCluskey? All right. 8:36, I close the public hearing on the PCC zoning ordinance and revisions. All right. Do I have a motion?
Yes,
to
sir. I'd
approve
like to
the
make that
change in
motion.
ordinance? Sir?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the attached revisions to PCC Section 35-141 as presented.
Second.
Second
Got a
motion.
second.
Third.
Fourth.
Any discussion on the motion?
Yes, sir, I have
Mr.
some.
Warren?
I really appreciate everybody coming out tonight. As I stated during our legislative commission, I'll be supporting this, and, you know, I do agree, it's time to put a halt on solar in Pittsburgh County. You know, I've been serving 7+ years now, and it always impresses me when citizens come out and speak and stand up and let us know where they stand. And I find it interesting, you made reference to a solar that we all know is so unsightly, and it really prompted us to start trying to look and make adjustments to our site planning and all that. Right after that happened, we had very little influence at all at that point in time because of state legislation. But, you know, the big companies come in and, you know, you spoke so eloquently and passionately, you should be in politics. But that evening when it came before us, it was just the flip opposite of what you see tonight. They had done a really good job in marketing for you gentlemen that were not on the board. They had a real outpouring of community support. You know, they had reached out to the fire and rescue, made a lot of promises to those folks. They had reached out to the churches. There was a tremendous amount of support. And, you know, we're sitting here and we're listening to the citizens, and which we should be. We should always be listening. So, you know, hindsight's always perfect. Having the opportunity to look back, we probably try to do some things differently as it relates to solar. But I will tell you, because I've been an advocate, I'm not going to back up and not take ownership of what I've said before. We have a lot of financial obligations that come. I have lived through, unfortunately, some times when we had to make hard choices in raising taxes. And as passionately as you all spoke tonight, if we came out and was going to only fund our jail and not have any other revenue resources for that to come by, this place would not hold the people that would come in and be equally as passionate about that. So those that are in the hoppers, we've already admitted we got to deal with them and live with them. We just got to make them the best we possibly can. But I'm going to support what it takes to eliminate and make sure we can't get any more. I will say this to you as you read this legislation. There was, and you should understand this, there was some parameters in it that could possibly allow a solar inside of a industrial park that would power right there. It would be used right there. That, other than that, this 2% deal, as Mr. Angier already pointed out, it's done. I mean, it's done. So, and I know I have some other colleagues on here that's been equally passionate about not seeing any more. So, again, this is democracy at work. And if you're running for office, I've got my pen. I'm happy to sign up because you did a super job. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Dudley.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank all of you that come out and spoke. The gentleman on the end, listened to your points. Great presentation. I really appreciate that. I'm scared to death of you, Amanda. I can tell you that right now. Thank you. We've spoke on the phone, me and your husband, both, and I am in full support. I was on Planning Commission when the solar farm first started coming through. I think the first solar farm, I believe, was Kentucky. Is that correct? In that area, Karen? And that was 5 or 6 years ago, and they were really, really good salesmen. We asked them to show up at community centers, fire stations, give presentations, and they were really good salesmen. But, you know, as it come on, they flooded into our county, and I just, I have gotten calls from our folks, and I wish I had a picture of this because I want to thank every single one of y'all. You guys stood up. You're here. This just gives us a voice of what's going on in our community, and I sincerely want to just thank you so much. I'm absolutely for it. I've even had supervisors from other counties call me and say, it's time to cut it off. And yes, changes should be made, and I am absolutely for going from the 1 mile to the 5 mile. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
To the public, we appreciate your attendance tonight. We appreciate all the passion that you have come and presented this, but I'm going to call for questions so that we vote on this motion and move on.
Yeah, I got one more comment real quick. I was trying to think, Amanda, of what orator I could relate to. Ms. Widener?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, but Mr. Charles Hawkins. Do any of you all remember Mr. Hawkins? When he came and spoke to us, he captivated the entire room, and you did that tonight.
Love the cadence.
Yep. I think she could go bear hunting with a switch, I'm telling you. I'm just saying. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I likewise, so many good things have been said that no need to reiterate that, but this is such a beautiful, impressive show of citizens concerned about where they live and what they love, and I wanted to thank y'all for that. I have to concur. Amanda, you missed your calling, but, you know, it all came from the heart, and, you know, collectively, we know that there was a mistake made when we went from 5 to 1. Thank goodness we're going back up to 5. I promoted 7 to 10. That didn't go anywhere. Surprise. But needless to say, you know, we, looking back in hindsight, there's nothing we can do about that. Bob mentioned the projects in the hopper and the ones that's, you know, under construction. So we just collectively will have to live with that. But the great thing about what's happening tonight is that we'll put a stop to the future. And that's a good thing. And thank you all so much for coming out.
Any more comments? Mr. Scarce.
Yeah, I want to thank you all for coming out for this as well. And again, we can only make decisions, you know, appropriately when we hear from the citizens. Going back to when this was approved by the Planning Commission, I think there was maybe one person, Mr. Moss, I believe, showed up. And I think I received 2 phone calls about the project at the time, but there was really no opposition. No one was complaining. And I will tell you that I tried to listen to the opinions of the constituents, and I wish this kind of show of force had been back during the Planning Commission so we would have had a better idea. I guarantee you that I would have shut something like this down if I'd seen this overwhelming support for not approving these kind of projects. So again, it's so important that when you hear of one of these projects coming up for the Planning Commission, you have to go and complain, you have to show the opposition, and then contact your supervisor and let him know that we can't make good decisions if we don't hear from you guys. And I would plead with you to do that in the future. If you see something that you don't want in the Planning Commission meetings coming up, please reach out to us. I listen, whether anyone else on this board does. I listen to what you guys have to say. So thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Scarce.
I want to thank y'all for coming out. My rookie year is over. This is my second year, so my rookie year is done. So I've learned a lot. We offset. There was the time, I think it was a couple of occasions that I was very strong. I believe it was dealing with, at the time, of gun legislation. And I remember that the whole theater was full. This is no different. I have seen legislation passed, and I'm like, I don't like it. Well, whose fault was it? I didn't come in, I didn't voice my opinion. One thing I have learned in the year that I've been here is that I'll get comments about things here and there, but it's when y'all show up in force, good or bad, and we have debate, that's when the good stuff happens. And we're at a point of our history that people aren't participating in their government until it affects you. And I'm sad to say that and I include myself for years. As long as y'all didn't mess with me, y'all do what you want to do. And that's the honest truth. I had to work. I had to take care of a family, take care of a job. Y'all take care of what's in Chatham. I'll take care of what's in Ringgold. Well, being on this board for a year, I realized how important it is when people show up for whatever it is to let us know what you think. Because if you don't tell us, we are assuming what information we got and we go from there. But it's when people take advantage of our great, awesome system that we have in the United States, and a lot of places don't, that we can voice changes. We may not always agree, but at least we can sit on the floor and we can debate good and bad. What y'all did tonight will show this is my opinion and this is what we want. And I wish there would be, honestly, I wish every seat was filled for any issue that comes up, not just the solar farm. There's stuff that's coming down the pike that we need your input in, just like if I was sitting there, like I've done till I took this position, that I wish I had said something. And I realize that now. It's an honor to be able to voice your opinion about something. The board and I may not agree with it, your neighbors may not agree with it, but you got the right and the privilege to say what's on your mind. And I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, sir. Any more comments? If not,
I got in trouble a little bit, and I'll have to say this. When Chuck Angier got up here and spoke first, I thought he did a really, really good job. I know Chuck. I'm on GOP with him. And then I got so excited when Chuck finished and everybody was clapping. I was up here clapping, and Bob got all over me. He said, "You can't show emotion." I said, "I thought he did a good job." So, Chuck, I have to apologize to Bob because I did not do the right thing. I was not the supervisor. I was
out of line.
excited for you. Okay.
That's right.
Thank you,
Tim.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to have to echo all these statements from my colleagues here tonight. I hear everybody loud and clear, and it's time to put the brakes on.
Yep.
And I want to thank everyone for coming out, all of your comments, for speaking out, telling us your concerns. And I think we're ready here now to probably vote.
Yes, sir.
If everybody's ready, we
Yes,
done
sir.
talked enough. So let's do some actions.
You got it.
All right, we're ready to cast our votes.
It's changed.
All right, passed unanimous. Thank you all again for coming out. All right, moving on to item 11, unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business, Mr. Hunt?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Moving on to item 12, new business.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I've got a piece of new business, County Administrator Employment Agreement. I make a motion to approve the employment agreement between Pittsylvania County and Stuart J. Terrell, Jr., and appoint him as the new county administrator for Pittsylvania County effective April 1, 2023. And that is my motion.
Thank you, Mr. Dudley. Can I get a second on the motion?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Cheshire. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to vote no. I had no peace about this move, nor the employment contract. But it's sort of like the guy that your daughter brings home, and she says, "Daddy, he asked me to marry him." I'm not going to necessarily agree with that, but I'm going to make the best of it. So I will work with you, sir, and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Ingram. Any more comments on it? If not, we're ready to cast our vote. Passes 6-1.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Terrell is here.
Yes, sir.
It may be appropriate to introduce him and let him say a few words and then move on to our next item, if that's okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Mr. Terrell, would you like to step up and say a few words?
If I may.
Yes, sir.
I'm from Lynchburg. I grew up there. I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you carefully.
Mr. Terrell, would you take your mic, please, while you're speaking, so everybody can hear? Should be a cordless. Thank you.
Just a minute, please.
Okay.
Look, I'm from Lynchburg. I'm listening to you. I'm coming here with my family to be a part of this community. I'm going to live here. I'm going to work with you, all of you. My door will always be open. We're going to work to protect this community, particularly the rural aspect and the history of it. That's why I'm here because I love that aspect of it. And I know you feel the same way. So I'm going to be a part of that. We're going to do it together. Okay, I just want to say a few words. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. I don't take it for granted. I grew up in Lynchburg. I know how important a sense of place is and how you feel about your home, because that's why I'm here. To protect your home and help chart its course to the future. The greatest wisdom not applied to action and behavior is meaningless data. Okay? I'm not an academic. I'm here to do things. I'm not a bureaucrat. I've worked in bureaucracies. That's a quote from a management consultant that I study, Peter Drucker. Government must have the right strategies, but must ultimately be doers of deeds that protect, enhance, and grow a community. Now, we discussed this in my interview. My personal mission statement is, I am the civilian counterpart to the military. I don't know if you served in the military. I've talked to a couple of you have. The military is dying for this country. I'm here working to protect it, to make it a country worth dying for. That's my personal motto. Now, I and my family will be here because we want to be a part of this rural community and help maintain the quality of life that you offer, that only you have in the United States of America. Now, government today is different. It must be an island of stability in the sea of overwhelming information. We are drowning in information and starving for wisdom. But I'm here to help you do that. The first few months, what I plan to do is listen. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I need to understand what it is you need from me as a leader and facilitator to solve problems. So the first thing I'll do is listen to understand. I will seek first to understand your needs. Then we will devise plans and action and take action. Then I plan to work with the board, the community, and the staff. I do hear you about the need to protect the rural agricultural history. I understand that. But there is change, and we need to be sure that we control it, and it does not control us. We must have the right vision and path forward. I will live here. I will engage with the community. In Essex County, I help run the farmers market. I will provide what experience, skills, and abilities that God has given me at this time of my life. But it will not be about me. Wherever we go, we will go together, always looking for an overarching vision of what is best for the community. This business is really about relationships, okay? It's about starting and forming relationships. And that underlying that is trust. Trust with you, trust with you. Let's begin that relationship tonight. Though we often disagree about the means, please know that the intention and the will are true. They will always be true if we have the best interests of the community at heart. How to protect and build a community worthy of our citizens and our nation as a beacon of light to the world in this corner of the world that God has provided us today. Looking forward, though, with promise to a future that we can agree is the right path. I'm here to help you in all humility with what I can bring. I have no doubt that God will bless us in this effort. So let's begin now. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 13, matters from the work session. Do we have any items from the work session?
Mr. Warren, I
Mr.
think you have
Warren,
those
is that you?
motions, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve funding in the amount of $76,765 for the summer internship program.
I'll second that.
Got a second, Mr. Dudley. Any discussion on the motion? If not, we're ready to vote. All right, passes unanimous. Any other items from the work session? Is that it, Mr.
No, sir.
Okay. Board members' reports. All right, Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, to the board and to Mr. Chairman, great meeting. To our interim county administrator, I want to applaud and salute Mr. Hunt for stepping in and stepping up, and he's been doing double duty while we have been without a county administrator, so we thank you so very much. And to all the administrative team that does the heavy lifting day in and day out. You obviously prepare us for these meetings. You get the information out to us, and you make us look good. I want to thank the general public for being here today and giving rise to their passion, because as Mr. Warren stated, this is how democracy works, and thank you for those that are viewing online also. Thank you. May God bless this county.
Mr. Dudley?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you for an opportunity to speak. Again, I want to thank the folks for coming out. It's, you know, when we are doing work session and there's not a lot of people here, and then we go back into closed session, and we work things out in closed session, certain things that we discuss, then we come back out here, and when you see an audience full of people, I'm like, what did they come for tonight? I'm scared to death. But that's how you get, and you got my attention. When I come out and I saw, you know, people everywhere, it got my attention. And getting people's attention and getting boards' attention is sometimes how you do things. And I want to thank you guys, every single one of you that spoke. It's very important, and you guys mean a lot to us. Thank you so much. I want to thank the staff for facilitating the meeting. They make things go well. I really appreciate Darrell as a chairman. He's done a wonderful job. And really want to thank Vaden as well. Vaden stepped up and took the, he's our county attorney / interim county administrator, and took that, and I don't know how he could do enough hours in the day to do the work that he could do for 2 different jobs, and he did a wonderful job, and we should applaud him for that. I think he's a wonderful person. You can pay me for that later if you'd like to. I also want to give a shout out. My daddy had a big birthday this week, and I'm so proud of him. He turned 90, and I asked my sister, I said, what does he want to do on his birthday? And she said, he wants to go to Chef's Drive-In to get a hot dog. I said, that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm so proud of my daddy. There's a lot of longevity there. Some of them 105, 103 years old. What a blessing to have him 90 years. And if you still have yours, you love them while they're here. Amen. Thank our staff, Kim Vanderhyde. Appreciate the work that you did. Kaylin, Holly, thank you guys. Kevin, we couldn't have a meeting without you with the work that you do with IT. He's basically the the one right now that we have to go to take care of things. But I want to thank everybody. Thank our board members. Sometimes these days are long, and it's tough. It's not easy. So I want to thank all our board members too. Thank you, Mr. Dalton.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Warren.
Yes, Baden, my hat goes off to you. Done a wonderful job in a dual role. I've made this statement before. I will echo it again. I don't know that I've ever worked with anyone that I've seen so much growth in leadership and all as I've seen in you the last 7+ years. Appreciate you very much and your commitment to Pittsylvania County. I was going to say some things about the Finance Committee and the budget and all, but I'm going to wait till next month on that because we will bring back more details on that. But I want to share with my colleagues something else very positive that occurred since our last meeting for me. Had the opportunity to be in the company of several residents of Horseshoe Road, Mr. Scarce. It's in your district. And they were so appreciative and complimentary of the extensions of the water lines there, because that's been a problem for a number of years. I'm really happy to see that the Service Authority is now doing things and moving it forward in a manner to service citizens, not always with personal agendas and everything like that. We're trying to do it where there's true needs, and it has been outstanding to see that and to see the excitement on those residents' face, because one of them was telling me, my wife took a shower. When she finished her shower, I couldn't get any water. So he had to actually wait. So, we take for granted sometimes when we don't have those kind of situations. So, again, I applaud each one of you. That was a unanimous vote, if I remember correctly, to extend that water line, and that was much needed service that had been passed over many, many years. And on a somber note, on such an exciting night, I want to pass my sympathy on to Sheriff Taylor and Becky. Becky's mother passed away today, and he sent me a text just shortly before we began our meetings, or else he would have been here tonight. His able backup was here though, but Sheriff Taylor is so committed to this county and such a valuable asset. I'd just like to ask that each and every one of you hold his family in your prayers tonight. We all know it doesn't matter how old someone is or what health they're in. When you lose somebody you love, it's tough.
That's right.
It's tough. So tonight, before you go to bed, please just remember that family in your prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Mr. Scarce?
Yeah, first, I'd just like to thank everyone that participated in the Friends of NRA banquet last month. Not only did we break our local committee's fundraising record, we also broke the state's record for all the other committees in the state. Well over $100,000 that will go directly to the sporting training of our youth. And I just want to appreciate all who bought a table or sponsored or donated some of the products that went out. And next year we'll have more seats available for you guys that did not get a ticket this year. So look me up next year.
Thank you, Mr. Gay. Mr. Ingram?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to remember the late Treasurer Glenn Brown that recently passed away. His funeral was today. Bob spoke about Sheriff Taylor's mother-in-law, Miss Willis. I knew her from years ago, and I agree to keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Also want to remember the family of Levi Burke. He was a little 6-year-old boy that was playing T-ball one day and in intensive care the next, suffering from a brain tumor. And he went to heaven not too many days ago, and that's a good thing. Today is National Down Syndrome Day. My sister-in-law was 48 years old when she passed away, and to her, she wasn't handicapped. We were the ones that were handicapped. And so remember all those special people. I have to give a shout out to my Tunstall varsity basketball team. They did it again, but they got eliminated before they could get to the state, but they made us really proud. And finally, Mr. Chairman, Debbie Taylor that owns Custom Embroidery, she's been in business 25 years, and I wanted to remember her. And that'll do it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Cheshire.
Yes, thank you everyone for being here tonight. It's been always a pleasure to see everyone here. I'd like to thank Mr. Vaden for his job. Thank you for wearing two hats. Now you can wear one. I want to thank all the staff that make this right. So welcome, Mr. Rell. Welcome aboard, sir. And thank everyone for being here, and I hope everyone has a good evening. And thankfully, winter's over.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I'd like to first thank everyone for coming out tonight, all the comments. That was great. I want to thank all our staff for all the work they do to keep us in line. Also want to thank Mr. Hunt for filling in and helping us through this period. I want to welcome our new county administrator. And again, I want to remember the Mr. Glenn Brown family. You know, he was our treasurer for 16 years. And also the Mike Taylor family, his mother-in-law. And it's been a long day. I mean, no doubt about it. We've been here for a while, and I appreciate all the board members. We had a good evening. And with that, I think we're going to be ready to adjourn this meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Hunt, any comments from you?
I'll keep this short because I know
Okay,
everybody
all
wants
right.
to go home.
All right.
I thank everybody on the board for their patience and guidance and support these last 2 months when I've had both hats on. I welcome Stuart Terrell. No one is happier he's here than I am. Just ask my wife. But I can't wait to move down this table and resume my own roles. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that there's no way I could have done these two jobs these last 8 months if I didn't have support at home and at work. My work family, everybody has stepped up and taken on new duties. And I'm really proud of how everybody has shined in this difficult time. And you know who you are, but I thank everyone who made these last 8 months possible. And Stuart, I will do everything in my power to enable you to have a successful tenure here. I'm here to provide you any help you need, and welcome aboard.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. All right.